Hi, welcome to Swatches. This is Laura Volpintesta, Fashion Illustration Tribe, and today is just a quick impromptu blog. I'd like to talk to you about Thanksgiving's coming up, and as far as thankfulness goes, I just want to speak up about how thankful I am for the changes that are coming with new technology for women's careers, and that I'm taking a new initiative with Fashion Illustration Tribe to contribute a portion of all of my course sales to charity. I'm still researching the charity, but for my next launch, all 10% of all of my courses is going to go straight to women's charities related to women and single mothers and getting to work. Because what excites me most of it all is how our technology can balance our careers now with our family needs. And even before I had children, I found it my first full-time fashion job in the industry completely overwhelming. I wasn't comfortable doing 70 hours a week. It just didn't balance enough with what I wanted for my life, especially after working so hard through school itself. By the time I graduated, I knew I needed more balance. So then, even when I had children, it came up over and over again. A few times that I actually was invited to leave jobs when I was pregnant, jobs I was doing well at, but kind of being, people start looking and getting concerned, and you're a young mother and you don't know how to stick up for yourself. All of that has led to the birth of my business, Fashion Illustration Tribe. And what Fashion Illustration Tribe is really about is so much more than fashion at face value. I think fashion only at face value becomes so empty. Fashion speaks to women's lives, and we have so much to say and so much to do and so much to help each other. I got goosebumps just now as I'm talking about this. If we can supply mothers with laptops, it can change a life, change a whole family's life. And I want to share an interesting story about the beginning of my career, and then I'll just let you go. I don't want to take too long, and I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and to truly be thankful this year for so much that we have. And I also want to thank you for being part of my community or for coming on board. So, my first great job that I loved. Okay, so I had a job upon graduation in fashion design at a very large corporation, very successful, prestigious company, and really, really crazy hours. And it wasn't even that everyone in that company was working like that, but I worked for a woman who never went home, and she had a young child at home, and her husband was doing the mom thing, and she would call and say goodnight, and then she would just plow through the evening. And to tell you the truth, I used to, when she would go to the bathroom, I would sneak into the elevator and go home. I didn't know how to speak up for myself at that time. I didn't know how to talk to her. And I would sneak out around midnight every night and run home and come back the next morning at 8 for meetings. And it was very strange, but I guess it was my destiny. So after a few months, I didn't want to continue there, and I stopped. And I moved back to Connecticut because you know how New York City is. It's like if you're not earning, if you're not earning for 3 days, you can't stay in your apartment anymore. It was a time for change. I came to Connecticut. I opened my own studio. I called Wasulu Studio. I did some custom bridal. I made a lot of clothing with African prints and English wax and Dutch wax prints and a lot of custom clothing. That was a wonderful time, and the pressure was so much lower being outside of New York City. But then I started getting some calls from a former teacher at Parsons who'd become the chair of the fashion department, and they invited me back to teach, and that was awesome. That was just wonderful. And as just so happens, they invited me to teach sophomore pattern making. So I did that for 1 year, and then for the next 4 years I taught draping, which is, for those of you who don't know, working with muslin and a dress form mannequin and teaching how to create all the basic shapes. So darts, collars, sleeves, how to actually build them on a three-dimensional form, including hand sewing and machine sewing techniques. So all of that construction and building wasn't like a creative class in that they didn't get to do a lot of free expression type of thing. It was more like learning all of these basic foundations. It was a 6-hour class once a week. Yeah, and sometimes I'd have 2 classes, so I was teaching 2 days. But what I learned in those years was A, that I loved to teach, and B, that that was a whole different kind of job, because in the few hours that I taught, I was able to pay my New York City rent in Washington Heights. And the rest of that time, I just distinctly noticed, because I moved back to New York City when I got that job, I noticed no one could ever pay me enough for a day that was mine. I noticed with my salary job, I had no control over my life at all. It was work, 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 and it was those, crazy hours that I was doing, and no overtime. Whereas when I was freelancing, I made really good money, because every extra hour they needed me, I was paid for that hour. Big difference from staying all those extra hours and not getting paid, and doing the math and thinking, wait, aren't I making $2 an hour now? So when I was teaching, I would just teach 1 or 2 days a week. And the rest of the week, it was up to me. I could book freelance gigs. I could do other things, work on my own projects, meet up with people, create things. Once I got a taste of a life like that, I realized that when you have balance, you don't need as much. When you have free time to nurture your soul, nurture your craft, participate in your community, take care of yourself, take care of your home. I don't even call that free time. I mean, most busy moms know it's not a day off when you're home. It's twice as hard as working out. When I went back to the industry after being home with my babies for 2 years, 3 years, because after being home with them, I couldn't believe I had to sit in one chair all day. Like, my body was like, oh my gosh, I want to be picking things up, like picking up kids and hauling them through town. And it was so physical being home and taking care of my home and cooking and cleaning and sewing and projects and running around and sitting at a computer all day. My body was like, I remember I felt stuck and stuffed. Like, so when you have a balanced life, if you get paid fairly to work less days, when you go into work, you are so focused, you have so much to give. When I went back working into the industry, I took a part-time position that started out as 2 days. For a while, it turned into 3 days only. It was a part-time permanent position as a technical designer. I was also very happy because I could feel that the people who were there every day were a little bit like on edge with each other, a little bit, well, we all get burnt out. But when you can have some balance, when you can have some flexibility, when you have some days that are yours to prioritize what you need, then the days that you do go into work, you are so focused and you just feels fair. And I just feel that we have people making huge profits, and then we have a lot of people kind of locked into these jobs where there's very little room to breathe. And that's not for everyone. A lot of people have great full-time jobs that they love. I just know for myself and my nature, once I got the taste of jobs that are not 40 hours straight a week, even if I were to work 40 hours, I'd rather work at 3 different places than be in one place nonstop. That's just hard for me. I like to feel fresh and invigorated when I walk into a place, and I find that hard to feel when I'm there every single day, including weekends and midnight, right? So I am thankful, so thankful this year for and the past few years for this experience of bringing my little Mac laptop into my home and being able to connect and connect and connect and connect with the outside world, and knowing that I have so much to offer and that I can from here. The reason I ended up starting this business was my last job again was insisting I go into New York City every day, and I live in Connecticut and I have 2 kids. And that's 4 hours a day of commuting. I'm ready. I know I have so much to offer, and I know what I love to do, and I know I can do it from here. So it's a new era, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'd love to know what your dreams are, what you're working on, what you're building, and I wish you would pipe in at the comments below. I thank you for joining me. I hope you'll subscribe to fashionillustrationtribe.com, and also that you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. Um, Share if you like this, if you know it's going to touch somebody. I just feel so passionately about sharing what we do, why we do it, what's the meaning behind all this stuff, especially in fashion. I realized that for a long time I've sort of had this, I think fashion's really cool, but it always comes across as this very surface thing, and I love digging deeper. I have a series of interviews we're going to be coming out with soon with a designer friend of mine too. We're really talking about everything that surrounds fashion in the ways that really touch our lives. And there's so many women making the clothes, wearing the clothes, designing the clothes. How can we all come together and make all of our lives better through the work that we do? It's inspired work with a message. So I hope you'll stay in touch. Thank you for joining me today, and have a wonderful holiday weekend. Much love. Bye.